I'm here today with David Lyon, the branch manager from the Vulcan ATB. Thank you very much for joining us today, David. Got a few questions for you. We have people ask us questions all the time about mortgages and first-time home buyers and what we need to do, all sorts of stuff. So I figured we'd come right to the source. And just ask you a few questions today since I've got you here for a few minutes. Now, first-time home buyers. We have a little more affordable houses here in Vulcan, so we're getting to see a few more of them coming into town. For a first-time home buyer, what should they be doing? What's the process to be prepared to purchase, and how can ATB guide them through that?
Absolutely. I've got a few points I can share there. Well, firstly, thank you for having me here today. We're really fortunate to have such a great partnership, and happy to be here able to speak to this. So advice for a first-time home buyer. The first thing I would say would be come and see us early. Come talk to us way before you start purchasing a home. I think in that case we can really help a lot more. Sometimes when we're brought in, after an offer's already been made or once the purchase transaction started, we can't do as much to help. So the earlier you can see us, the better. We can help you. We can help you figure out a payment. And that's a big part of it too, right? We can help you figure out what you can afford, how that payment will fit into your lifestyle. A big part of purchasing a home, especially a first home too, is saving up your down payment, and we can help you there. The earlier you come see us, the more we can do to help you with saving that down payment, and we can help you to save your down payment efficiently. We want your savings dollars to go as far as they possibly can for you, and we can really help you build a plan around that.
Excellent. That's great. That's great advice.
Yeah. Another point I'd like to say, I kind of mentioned in my first point there, but is to start saving early. For a new home buyer, you can't start saving too early. And the earlier you can start saving, the larger down payment that you can save, the more flexibility that you have when you do go to buy that first home. Another piece of advice that I'd like to share is to watch out for unnecessary loans. When we're looking at buying a home, one of the things that all banks look at is your affordability, and that affordability is not only the mortgage for your home, but also how you can pay any other loans that you may have. So it's usually a good plan to come see us, come see you, to come work with Lyle, and get that home figured out first. Get that home purchased, get all moved in and ready to go. And then once you're comfortable, you're settled in your new home, then maybe you can look to get that new car or go look to get that ATV or who knows, once you buy that new home, maybe there's a few things that come up. Maybe you need to go buy a new dishwasher, or maybe there's a new fridge or a new back deck that you need to get a loan for. And by not getting additional loans before, you just free yourself up with a lot more flexibility to take on those loans and when you're doing your mortgage.
Super. That's great advice. Great advice. Now, not a lot of people speak mortgagees like you. What's the difference between a fixed and a variable mortgage?
Oh, great question. And your question is especially relevant. We've seen a lot of changes in mortgage rates here in the past few months. So I guess firstly I'll speak to a variable mortgage. So with a variable mortgage, you often still commit to a term. However, you're not locking in the rate. So say we'll use a 5-year term, for example. That's probably the most common mortgage term. So we'll use the 5-year term for our example today. So with a variable rate mortgage, you still commit to a 5-year term, and your rate is determined based on prime. So for example, your rate would be prime minus something, right? Prime minus a half, say. And then the prime rate is, as for those who don't know, prime rate is a rate that's set by the bank. And all the banks have their prime rates and they're all comparable, and your mortgage rate would float with prime. So if prime goes up, your mortgage rate, the rate that you're paying on your mortgage would increase. Prime goes down, your mortgage rate, the rate that you're paying on your mortgage could decrease. And that doesn't mean your payment changes every month as prime changes, but what does change is how much of your payment goes to principal versus interest. And then at the end of your 5-year term, then that resets, right? And if the rate has increased a lot, your monthly payment that you pay may change significantly at the end of the term. Where a fixed rate, you're committing and you're locking in. You're committing to a term and you're locking in a rate for that term. So in the same example of a 5-year term, With a 5-year fixed rate mortgage, you know exactly what your mortgage rate will be for the next 5 years. And you know exactly what your payments will be for the next 5 years and how much of each one of those payments will go to principal and how much will go to interest. And that's locked in. And then at the end of that term, again, you would renegotiate a rate. And that's the difference between fixed and variable. As you can understand, fixed rate gives you a little more security. You know exactly what your rate will be. But typically, we see fixed rates are a little bit higher than what a variable is because there's a little more risk in a variable rate.
Right, right. Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, now, the Vulcan ATB branch, like you guys are involved in the community. We see you at the curling rink, the hockey rink, the parks and stuff. What helps set ATB apart from a regular big branch? What makes you guys so special?
Oh, great question. So part of it, and you kind of alluded to it there a little bit in your question, is that we live in the community. We're part of the community, and we understand how things work here, right? Very similar to probably an advantage of why a customer would want to deal with you, Lyle, is that you live here, you know the market, and I think that's really an advantage for us. Is that we do know the local area. We can understand why some values might be where they are in certain communities. Where sometimes that could be pretty hard for somebody in Calgary, much less Toronto, to wrap their head around why the value of a house is what it is in, say, Champion, or an acreage property, or even where these places are in a lot of different times, right? And we have that local advantage. Another big advantage of dealing with ATB and Vulcan is that you get to deal with a person. So say you're coming in and you're working on a mortgage with ATB, you get to deal with Julie in the Vulcan branch, or Angela in the Vulcan branch, or me, David from the Vulcan branch. And we're a person in the branch. You have our direct line, you have our direct email, and you can contact us with any questions you have. And another part of that too is we're not like a mortgage broker where you just do the deal and then that's it, right? When you get a mortgage with us, you're with us, right? And we can help you with any questions you have before the mortgage. We can help you with any questions, anything you need during the process. And then we're there after the fact too. And if down the road something comes up, maybe there's a situation where you'd like to defer some payments, or maybe you're looking to add on to the mortgage. Hey, you get to deal with the same person. You can come and talk to us in person, and we can help you out with whatever's on your mind or whatever you need. And another big advantage to ATB is not all mortgages are created equal, right? Not all mortgages are the same. So there's a Ford Fiesta and there's a Ford Mustang, and there's different features to each. ATB's mortgages are a lot farther on the spectrum, closer to the Mustang. You have a lot of flexibility in your prepayment abilities, also in your ability to defer payments, to move the mortgage, and say you sell your house and you move to another property. There's a lot more options there. And a lot of people, when they're looking at comparing mortgages, they don't always compare all these options.
That's great advice. That's something I don't necessarily think of all the time. You kind of think they're all the same. But that's fantastic, David. Is there any other final thoughts you'd like to leave us with today?
Thank you very much for having me, Lyle, and thank you for taking the time to watch our video today. One thing I'd like to leave you with is, hey, if you have any questions, anything at all, mortgage related or finance related, myself and my team, we'd be happy to hear from you. We're located right here in Vulcan, 212 Center Street, so that's just a kind of kitty corner across the street here from the MagnusonRealty office, and we're always happy to have your questions. You're welcome to pop into the branch, to call down and make an appointment, or you know what, just stop us on the street if you see us out there.
That's great. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, David, for joining us today, and we'll sure be talking to you in the near future.
That's great. Thank you.
Take care.